Stradman has spent the pandemic making a museum dedicated to retro computing. Should we just quick game? Quick game?
My name's Neil, and we are in The Cave, which is a celebration of retro computers, consoles and video gaming in a 18th century mill in Chalford. Well, there is a big thirst for this at the moment, I think.
Hello Cave Dwellers, welcome into The Cave. It is a big month for The Cave, perhaps the biggest ever, as we push to try and get this space ready for public opening. You just heard a little clip there from BBC Radio Gloucestershire. I'm on the campaign trail to raise awareness locally. It started off with a local paper in Stroud that picked up the story, and then BBC Radio Gloucestershire, and then later this week we've got BBC Radio Somerset, Solent, and then BBC Points West, which is, they'll be coming with the video cameras for a news story. So we're slowly working our way up the BBC chain to get more and more coverage. And what's really captured them is that headline, Man Builds Museum in Lockdown. They really seem to like that. So I'm just running with that to get as much exposure as we can for the channel. The real business, however, is not messing around on the radio or on the television. It's the drive to actually get this place finished. And what's really helped to make that possible this month is the retro colouring book. The campaign has finished, the Kickstarter campaign, and here it is. You raised a massive £43,328. That's across 1,479 backers. It includes 423 signed books, so I'm going to have a bit of a sore arm by the end of that. 233 of you opted to have your name printed in the back of the book, and 60, that's every single slot for 3 sessions, signed up for Colouring in the Cave. So that's 3 VIP days of 20 people each, where you're going to come and be the very first people to enjoy this space. But of course, none of that's going to happen unless this is finished. Now on the colouring book, we are well underway. I've had Stu over. Here's some pictures of him taking pictures of machines for reference, which we've been setting up. You'll notice that the book is really aiming at getting the inside as well as the outside of the machines for you to colour in. So it takes time to open them up and photograph them, but I had a lovely day with Stu, and I also had the opportunity to interview him. You'll have seen that at the end of the CD32 FMV episode that we did. I just slotted that little interview in at the end there. Lovely guy to work with. So we're working really hard to fulfill that obligation to complete the colouring book and get it in your hands, of course. And then the other obligation is to get this museum finished using the rest of the money from that campaign. Now the money takes about 2 weeks to come through. If you've ever done a Kickstarter, you'll know this. It takes about 2 weeks for it to process, and then up to another 2 weeks for it to come into your bank. So worst case scenario, it can take 4 weeks. So it hasn't quite hit the bank account yet, but in the knowledge, safe in the knowledge that that money is coming, I've leveraged a few 30-day credit accounts on different things. So we are going shopping today, and I'm going to show you some of the decisions that we've made for originally what was supposed to be just glass cabinets. But the amount of money that we've raised opens up so many other opportunities that we're going to talk about them, and we're going to go shopping for them today. So not necessarily a huge amount of DIY today, but we'll go through some of the decision making, get some feedback from you, and get everything ordered so that we can really push as soon as it all arrives to get this place finished. And of course, a really important place to start is with places to sit. Until now, the hands-on area that we've been building hasn't had a single stool for you to sit on and enjoy the machines. So let's take care of that right now. Now you'll remember originally I was talking along the lines of something like old science lab schools or something like that, but IKEA came to the rescue with their good old Colouring chairs. Something a bit more practical and something that your backs might actually thank me for later. So it was time to turn to the IKEA man for the instructions. Much better. Now I can relate. With 25 chairs to build, an electric screwdriver was an absolute must. A box of donuts and a pot of tea, several pots of tea in fact. And you'll notice Mark is hovering around today, and you'll see what I've tasked him with building shortly, but let's get on with these chairs. Chair 1 was always going to be the longest one to build, but these are really not that complicated to put together. The only bugbear being that every single one of them comes with an Allen key and a spanner. So I've got a big old bag of spanners now, if anyone needs that, and maybe a booby prize for a future competition, the bag of spanners. Anyway, it's just a case of powering through these. There's no way to sweeten the repetitive nature of it other than to just turn the music up and get on and build them. You'll be pleased to know we do have a weekly recycling collection here, so all of these boxes will be taken care of. And here we now have a whole bunch of chairs. Not all of them in show, there are some in the library area as well, but you get the idea. Perfect for gaming, easy to pick up and move around for 2-player gaming or to take down the other end of the room for a talk. Finally we've got some chairs in here and it's starting to really look like a place where you can come and use some computers and play some games. Now, what was Mark working on? Well, last month I picked up this old bit of furniture. It's got windows in the drawers. And the idea I thought was to make a games console station. So you can pull out a console, put it next to the telly, plug it in and play. And we decided it would be a good idea to light it up with some LED strips. So we'll move that 32-inch CRT. Yes, it is as heavy as it looks. That thing is a monster. And the key here is to run the cables in such a way that it won't snag on the drawers, it won't get ripped out by enthusiastic console gamers. So we've got to get it really neat. And to do that, Mark is wiring up a strip of LEDs for each of the drawers individually. Do not do this at home, for crying out loud. Get that out of your mouth, Mark. He's patching each strip into a breadboard, which will hide inside the unit, and then a neat cable goes out to each drawer. Now, he hasn't quite finished the job yet. He'll be back next week to do that, but you can already see the effect that we're going for here. And to finish it off, we're going to line the drawers with some white paper to really make the light bounce around. Hopefully you get the idea, and next week you'll be able to see the finished article if we can lift the telly back up onto that chest of drawers there. It really is donkingly heavy.
And someone who has kindly helped the cave for years to reach this stage is monsterjoysticks.com, who you should visit for a range of arcade parts, adapters and joysticks for classic systems as well as modern rigs using USB, for that authentic arcade experience with genuine Sandware arcade parts. They even have a model you can mount your Raspberry Pi inside for emulation fans on the go. Treat yourself and your system to the joystick it deserves at monsterjoysticks.com.
Get this, inside an 18th century mill, just up the M5 in Gloucestershire, is a museum dedicated to retro computers and games. And the mastermind behind it is Neil Thomas. Morning, Neil.
Hello, Simon. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, what an absolute...
More fun on the radio as the week went on then, this time with Simon Parkins, who back when I was a kid presented children's TV on the BBC. Some of you may remember him in the broom cupboard presenting children's telly. It was really cool to talk to someone who used to be on my telly about old computers, about the old computers I would have been using while watching him on the telly. And he genuinely knew what he was talking about, so it made for a really good chat. On to the shopping then. And glass cabinets were and remain the priority, and I was in for a shock. I started out searching for cabinets specific to museum displays, and well, they were expensive. I mean, really expensive. In many cases, so expensive they don't even list the price. And if I was the British Museum, then sure, it wouldn't faze me. But this is not an avenue I spent a long time going down. A different approach was definitely needed. So first off, I tried the second-hand route to see if I could find some nice old museum cabinets. And well, that was a no-go too. Take this beautiful set of 12 used cabinets. I don't need 12, but this is how they're listed. From the 1950s, for example. Even if they sell them individually, it's still over £2,500 per cabinet, plus shipping to get them over to the UK. I want them so much, they're gorgeous, just look at them, but let's not blow the entire budget on cabinets. So how about retail display cabinets as an alternative? That should fit the bill. And I did have a lot more success finding things within budget here. Lots of glass cabinets, some with LEDs, some without. Some of these seem okay and within budget, but I did hit a problem. Despite the same model and the exact same photos being used across multiple suppliers, every single place I called was out of stock, and stock would take 12 to 16 weeks to arrive. These were all being shipped from China to order, and that kind of delivery time would take us well past up the end of September goal, so I just kept hitting brick walls. But after a bit more searching, I found something I quite liked over at the shopfittingwarehouse.co.uk. And every time I glanced at that website, my web brain changed the words to shoplifting warehouse. I don't know if that says anything about me, but let's move on swiftly. What I liked about their cabinets is that they have the advantage of wheels on the bottom, lockable wheels. And that will help me a lot with the flexibility of reconfiguring the layout of where I want them according to the type of event that we're having on the day. They also have lockable doors and toughened glass, and everything that I could really want in a cabinet. But most importantly, it's made in the UK, and I triple checked that. I called Natalie, I think I spoke to on the phone, and she also gave us a discount on the list price, saving us £200 on the final bill. So these, I decided, are the cabinets for us. I've opted for 4 of them, 4 of the large cabinets, and then in the middle of that space, we'll have a little island to peer into with some more items on display. The island has an aluminium base at the bottom. If we've got some leftover wall cladding, I might be able to clad it to make it fit in a bit more with the surroundings. We'll see what we've got left and what we can do with that. So here's the bill. It's still a big number, but I think it's a good balance. We've managed to get that £200 discount. I'm VAT registered, so we can claim back the tax on it. And I think that's a good balance of value for money and the quality and the look of what I want to get in here. We're still cutting it fine though, 4 weeks for the delivery time. Hopefully this will be with us by the end of September. So that's our original priority taken care of, those glass cabinets to fill the space here and create a museum space, an extra area. That it really surprises me when people come and visit. They are familiar with the hands-on area, they're familiar with the studio, and then they're constantly surprised by this strip in the middle that you never really get to see. And as soon as we get those cabinets in here, you'll see a lot more of that on videos, and visitors will be a bit more used to it and less surprised, perhaps. I'm looking forward to getting them in here anyway. So that's our original priority, and anything above and beyond buying the glass cabinets is now a bonus. And there's a whole lot more above and beyond thanks to the success of the colouring book. And the first thing that I want to get in here is certainly above us. It's going right here. Air conditioning. I've already had several companies quote to fit this place out with air conditioning. I already know just from working in here on my own that it gets really, really hot, especially in the summer. And if I had 30 people into the room, all the machines turned on, it's not the impression that I want to give people. I want this place to be cool, to feel clean, to be fresh. I don't want it to become a stuffy nerds club. I want it to be a cool, clean, fresh nerds club that everyone can enjoy. And if you bring people along who aren't particularly interested, who have come with you for the day, you want them to be comfortable, to have a coffee and not to feel all stuffy and horrible in here. So the fact that we can get air conditioning in is a huge, huge bonus. The unit that we're going for, it comes courtesy of a company called Ace Air Conditioning in Stroud. James came to quote. We had a couple of companies quote, and the amounts that they quoted were just hilarious. One of them quoted nearly £20,000. The one we've gone for is closer to 5,000. Still a huge chunk of money, but I think it's well worth it. Now the unit that's going to go up there is the type of unit that you might find in a nightclub or in fact a museum. A great big unit that it's designed to blast air down the length of the room. Any waste will be gravity fed out to a split condenser which is outside, so there won't be a pump making noise to take that away, and it will just drop down. We'll have to make a hole in the wall. I'll get all of this on camera when it happens, and we'll get the other side of the unit outside, and hopefully that will keep us nice and cool in here. The fact that it will be on display doesn't really concern me. If we've got ducting and things like that on display up there, it'll all just add to the character of this industrial building, so that's absolutely fine. So air conditioning is on the way, a timescale of about 2 weeks to get that in. But it hasn't all been plain sailing here. Yes, things have been going well. Yes, we've been doing some good shopping, but some things haven't been going too well for us. The reality of running a space like this slapped me in the face with our beloved Galaxian cabinet. Before we've even opened up the place here, it decided to stop working and displayed a garbled image. And I've never opened this up yet, so I thought I'd check it out. And we can see inside here there's a rat's nest of power supplies at the base. You've got the game board on the left and the CRT there in an open frame. Now, I'm not about to try and diagnose and repair this machine today, but I thought it was worth checking the obvious. So I discharged the monitor, nearly dropping my screwdriver in the process. And it gave off a really nice flash and a crack. I'm glad that didn't happen to me via sticking my head in the cabinet. And all I've tried today is to reseat and secure the socketed chips, although the flex in the board didn't feel like such a great idea, so I didn't persevere for too long, checking for any obviously unseated chips, anything leaking on the board. Sadly, it wasn't that simple, so we can look forward to pulling the board out and see if we can properly get to the bottom of this in its own episode. I suspect some RAM or maybe some PSU problems here. And I'm sure that's not the only thing that's going to go pop either before we've opened or even on open days. I think we just have to expect things to go wrong when people are using them.
The key to mitigating that is to have spare machines that we can quickly bring out and set up and just keep on top of the maintenance. But it was a stark reminder that there's going to be a lot of that going on. Thanks, Galaxium. Now let's get back to some good news. There's yet more budget to spend. So we've opened something up in another room over here. I'm going to take you over there and show you. The idea of a recreated retro shop is back. I'm sacrificing my office, which is part editing space, part storeroom, to use some of this extra budget that we've now got to create a 1980s and 90s style video game shop. Try not to get dizzy here. It's not the biggest room, but it's big enough to try and capture that feel of games on display as I remember them before these pesky digital downloads came along. And I think we've got the space to do that in here if we pop up a frame and build onto it a slat wall system. And if we head back to the shoplifting warehouse, the colour that I think works best is this grey colour with some shelving, and maybe we can shrink wrap the games so that people can actually pick up and handle them and recreate that experience of browsing new games. W.H. Smith, Dixon's PC World, if you're watching me, give me a call, I'll buy your old signage. Add a CRT in the corner playing old computer adverts, and I think this will be a great time capsule to step into before returning back to the main room. And as Mark's newly painted drawers are drying behind me, that concludes all I've got to tell you about today. It's pretty light on the DIY because we were waiting for the Kickstarter campaign to come to an end. We're now, as I said, waiting for the money to come into the bank account, but we are doing all the planning, doing the preparation and ordering everything that we can to really go all guns blazing, and all of those extra bits like the shop. And there's a little bit more which I'd like to do. I can't make any promises on this because it depends how far we can really stretch this budget, but there is another room over in the corner and I'd love, if possible, to make that into a kitchen. There's already the water coming up there and the waste pipes and everything. So if we've got enough budget, we'll get some kitchen units in there and then get the coffee machine and things like that in there. If not, it will happen in time. It might not just be ready for opening. You know, we'll do everything we can for opening, but I have a suspicion there'll always be more to do here, whether it's maintenance or whether it's adding more things. But we'll get to a point, and I promise we'll stop the mission creep. We'll use this budget, and then we will get to a point where we say, that's it, enough is enough. We have to open and let people in here to enjoy this space. So it's a big month ahead of us. The output on the channel is going to be all over the place this month. I'm going to show you as much of this kind of content as possible because this is primarily what I'm going to be working on. We'll also have the Mr. Multi-System videos. We've got the Q&A to come of that. So there will be some other content, but primarily it's going to be about getting the cave ready this month. And just before putting this video out, we had another visit from the BBC. This time it was BBC Points West. So we're really getting the word out there that this place exists. And whether or not all of this BBC coverage that we've been getting lately will attract more visitors, will make more people aware of the cave, above and beyond who we already speak to on the channel and who we already reach, well, it'll make my mum proud at least. Thank you for watching as always. See you very soon for more DIY and take care.